Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar. We have, I could almost say, our co-host, Mark Ronich, the statewide news service. And we have a special guest with us today, our own Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin. Steve, if I can call you by your first name.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you.
I should say again, because you have, must be you're doing well over here, so we have you for reruns over here, not reruns, but...
That was great. It was about a year ago, I think, right? I was just coming in office, and
That's
I had a great time.
You know, there's always something happening in the, surely it's not stagnant, the Assembly, new budgets, new laws constantly, so we got to check in and see what's happening there.
Yeah. So how do you like, I mean, obviously you're going to say you work very hard and you're, and you enjoy the work, but seriously, you know, besides the pat response, how do you like
you know, I don't want that to sound like a pat response. I love the job. I really enjoy it. I feel like it's a calling, and that's the closest I could ever come to it when people say, why are you doing this? I felt like I was called to do this, that I had to get involved, had to lend my voice for what I believed in and what I think a lot of people believe in. So I love it. I'm energized by it. It's a long day. I mean, it's interesting when people say, oh, you guys only work part-time. I said, well, if you mean only half the day, then I think we're only working part-time. But it's about a 10 or 12-hour day every single day.
But there are times when you take a break and you recharge yourself.
There are. I have two kids.
Yeah, you have to go on vacation. You have to take time off.
Yep.
Everyone does.
Yep.
So what do you do on your time off? Do you travel? Do you go on a cruise? What do you do?
Yeah, my wife and I were able to get away for a few days down to Florida, but it was really a long weekend, but it was a great time because we hadn't been away for a little bit. One of my sons is a hockey player, so we do a lot of traveling with him. We'll be going to Hyannis in a week or two, Lake Placid, so I can get away over the weekends, things like that. Haven't really gone on a long vacation. Got my other son away. They each get one day with me during the summer where they get the whole day with me, each one of them. And they certainly have time as well, but they get one special day where they get to spend it with me. So my son and I were able to go down and go golfing down in the Catskills for a day. Had a terrific time down there. So we sort of, not really long vacations, but a lot of short little breaks.
Are you the type of guy, even before you were in the Assembly, that would go away for a week at a time, or are you one of these guys that just likes long weekends?
Yeah, I kind of, if I go away for a week, I start to get a little antsy. I can't sit on the beach for 5 days. You know, I can certainly go to a nice, warm, tropical location, but I want to go golfing a day or two. I want to do some sailing or some fishing or things like that. I'm not a guy that can just sit on the beach for 5 days.
Well, the only time I'm going to be on a beach for 5 days is if I'm homeless.
It could happen.
And then I'm going to be in a beach, and that's where I'm going to.
That's where you're going to be.
Go. Not under not anywhere else. Not in a cardboard thing or not in a cold climate.
Just on the beach.
I'll be on the beach in a warm climate.
There you go.
No, if you're going to be homeless, you might as well enjoy it.
You might as well enjoy it. Yeah. I get to squeeze in little breaks, but you know, I'm energized by the job. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. I have no problems with the job at all.
What's your focus? What's your, I know that you're on the Small Business Committee, and that's a big part of what you're doing because you were a banker in your other life.
Absolutely.
But what other, what are the passions of it in terms of issues do you have?
Yeah, and it's interesting how that sort of evolved into different things from what you think it might be when you come in. I certainly have an intense focus on the private sector. And I always say, I have nothing against the public sector, but we all can't work for the public sector. We need a healthy, vibrant private economy. So you saw the other day in our committee meeting where I was questioning how to make New York more business friendly. That's a big focus of mine. What can we do to make New York more business friendly? Get out of the way of our entrepreneurs, encourage them, help them. That is a big focus. But also, what's very interesting, I spent a lot of time on the social service aspect of things, which people might not think. They say, well, you're a conservative Republican. But the way I view this is, the way I think government acts best is when we're helping the people that need it the most. And I'm pretty hard on people that I don't believe in handouts. You know, if people don't need it, if they can get on their own 2 feet and go to work, they absolutely need to do that. But government needs to be there to help the most vulnerable members of our society. And I've had a lot of enjoyment and a lot of fulfillment about getting involved in those issues. Today, sadly, is the 5th anniversary of Jonathan Kerry's passing. And we had a press conference today, and I was proud to sponsor a resolution honoring Jonathan's life. And I've spent a lot of time there working on that, and also a lot of focus on what we're doing throughout the budget process that is sometimes penny wise and pound foolish, where it looks good in the short term and maybe it saves a little bit of money in the short term, but in the long term it can really hurt some vulnerable people, whether it's schools or seniors and things like that. So it's sort of evolved into that. It's kind of a mix, a lot of business type aspects, a lot of constituent service, but also quite a lot of social service stuff.
Now, also during the summer, I guess it was, you had part of your district, not Bethlehem, but part of your district was really flood ravaged.
Right.
And you talk about constituent service.
Yeah.
You were out there, you were all around, you weren't just putting out press releases and snapping pictures like some of the legislators had been doing.
Right.
You know, one legislator was on vacation, the governor went to his district, he came in from vacation, snapped a few pictures and went back on vacation.
Yeah, not a good move.
Not a good move,
Yeah.
but no one knew.
Right.
So he got away with it,
Right.
and he's a long timer. But there are others that are on the ground all the time.
Right.
Tell me what your experience was from that, and is this light winter helpful for the spring where we won't have so much runoff?
Yeah, fantastic question. The day the storm hit, we were out there when it ended, and we were out about, my chief of staff and I were driving around Troy, Lansingburg, up and down the river, because I really thought the river would be immediately impacted, but it wasn't. About 2, 3 in the morning, we were driving around, and I'm thinking, geez, this isn't so bad right now. If we can get by like this, we're going to be okay. There was certainly some flooding in some of the creeks, Post and Kill Creek for one, and there were shelters open. We were visiting the shelters, checking in. It was 3, 4 in the morning, and you don't do that for press op. You know, you're not doing that to get
2,
pictures.
3 in the morning.
You're just simply showing up to say, what can we do to help?
Yeah.
And I really don't want any pictures out of that type of stuff. But the next morning, when the sun came up, it actually got much worse as the day wore on. The river crested, it came out of its banks along.
Post and Kill.
Well, the Post and Kill did, but the Hudson did.
also?
Yeah, the Hudson
Where?
did, especially up in Lansingburg, Spiegeltown area, right near I'm up the hill in Melrose, but down in the.
But you're not talking about near the Corning Preserve or anything like that.
No,
no.
it was more up in
North,
in Lansingburg and Spiegeltown area. They came right out of its banks, and you were looking across the river, and all you saw was the roof over in Waterford, and you'd see campers, trailers, Winnebagos floating by, pumpkin patches floating by. I mean, everything, washing machines, septic tanks floating by. The Post and Kill Creek was raging like I've never seen it in my life. And really what we got involved very quickly in, and all sides of the aisle did a great job. The governor did a great job. Everybody was working to get out of the way and let the cleanup begin. And that was a big problem in New York, is getting DEC to kind of lighten up. I had town supervisors literally afraid to go into stream beds to take septic tanks out. And our message was to the DEC, and to their credit, they did back off. It wasn't like they were being heavy-handed. Our message was, you can't try to maintain an environment that no longer exists out here. It was literally like a war zone in a lot of these places. You'd see septic tanks in the middle of a creek, trees, entire healthy trees just washed in.
But you also told these town supervisors, take that septic tank out and I'll handle it for you.
That's exactly what I said. I said, you
know,
go in
that's
there and do
leadership.
it. Go in there and do it. I will deal with them. I had a restaurant owner who had big, riprap, they call it, big rocks that were the side of his stream bed. Well, they belong there, but they were all washed downstream. He's afraid to go in and get them because he's afraid the DEC is going to find them. And my message was, I'll go in there with you. We'll pick these things up, put them back where they belong, and we'll deal with the DEC. But to their credit, they were not trying to be heavy-handed. They did back off. We did get some, lightened up regulations. And really, I think the message was that for year after year, these stream beds weren't maintained because of heavy regulations. A lot of these farmers know perfectly well what needs to be done with that stream bed that's running through their property. They weren't allowed to maintain it, and as a result, a lot of this damage occurred that maybe might not have occurred.
Mitigated.
It might, you can do a lot with mitigation throughout the years, but they're not allowed to do this stuff. So I think the lesson to be learned there is we need to have certainly a good, strong environmental policy, but we also need to have common sense and need to be able to maintain these stream beds.
You have a stream out in the back of your house.
Didn't overflow. So
Didn't-
I had 2 trees go by down there. It's incredible. I mean, it was an incredible storm. It was
You had
like
2
you
trees
say,
in the backyard go down?
major, biggest willows.
Yeah, healthy trees probably.
Yeah,
right? Just
they were
washed away.
good. Yeah, just
Oh.
Yep.
No, I mean, it was like incredible.
Really
I hope
was
this
something.
is a once a life. Sometimes they say once a lifetime.
Right.
You know, they use that phrase. I just hope it is.
No, but you know what the governor said?
What?
You know, these are 500-year storms, and we've had 2 500-year storms in the past 5 years.
That's true.
You know,
That
so,
is
We've got for
so they're
1,000
coming-
years.
He says, I'm not going to talk about global warming, but I'll tell you that, what
Right.
was it, in the State of the State
He did.
maybe or something? Yeah.
Yeah, and didn't he do a good job? I mean, the governor was right there on the ground, and then that wasn't, you know, he got involved. He was trying to help as much as he could, and the other thing too, which was interesting with that storm, was we didn't expect it to hit upstate New
No.
York.
So far.
We really expected it to get hit in Manhattan and Brooklyn and the boroughs. So I won't say we're unprepared, but we just didn't expect that it was going to come this way.
Now-
We're prepared for snow for sure, but not this.
What happened in your Columbia County part of your district?
Not that bad, surprisingly. We got through okay, and certainly I had pockets that were devastated. But my colleague Pete Lopez, his district was just so decimated. He did a phenomenal job. His parents lost their home.
Yeah.
They're still not back in that
And
house.
they went to Columbia County because they have a relative there, I think.
Right, right. And
They were
Pete's-
missing for 2 days.
They were,
And then
couldn't-
they found them in Columbia County.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, we had all kinds of problems, barn fires, because the hay was wet. Well, that was something I learned, not being a farmer. When the hay gets wet, it gets more flammable because it starts to combust with all the bacteria and everything. So
Oh.
we had barn fires going up. So there was just problem after problem. The problems continue. If you go out to Prattsville today, it still looks
Well,
it still looks decimated.
Yeah, what was it, Route 42 just opened. The
Just
bridge.
open.
Yeah,
Right.
today.
And we had Route 2 out our way,
Stafford,
just
yeah.
north of Brunswick, was completely gone. Chris Gibson and I and a lot of the town officials were standing there. And we're standing on the road, and it's about a 6-foot drop off
Yeah.
to where the road had washed away, just completely gone. But it was great in a way. It was certainly devastating and heartbreaking, but it was great to see private sector, you know, these contractors pitching in, dump trucks all over the place, you know, just filling in holes
You
and
talk
filling in
about
caverns.
that at one of the town meetings that I attended. There was a truck driver who said, you know, tractor, I mean, he had this backhoe or something. He says, you know, I don't mind using it and providing that, but give me some money for gas.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it, but they're putting in, they're spending money, and gas is expensive.
Right.
And they're putting in hundreds and hundreds of dollars, so it's not really volunteering, it's actually paying to help.
Costing, yeah.
And where's the state? You
Right.
know, why isn't the state reimbursing these guys for volunteering?
Right.
You know, they don't want to get paid for their labor, they want to get paid for whatever expenses. they
Materials,
have.
basically.
Materials,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, that's certainly
Yeah,
fair.
it would be.
But they did a really terrific job. I mean, up in the Post and Kill area, we had an entire road. I was standing there, and the road was gone. I mean, it was about 200-foot drop off. What used to be
State
road.
road?
It was
County
really
road?
one of those old county roads,
roads,
but
yeah.
it was gone. It was
Yeah.
like a waterfall. And really, this is normally just a little mountain stream,
Uh-huh.
but it turned into Niagara Falls, took the road right away. And within 2 or 3 days, it was all filled in and it was reopened.
So how about, how does this tie in with your small business thing? How's the businesses reacting, and were you able to get
Well, that was
money and people up and running? And
It took a little while, and now we're just seeing, as we were in that meeting yesterday with Ken Adams, that we learn, you know, as programs come out, we're certainly going to spread the word out to our small businesses, these $20,000 grants that are available for small businesses to take care of some of their losses, because insurance never covers everything, FEMA never covers everything. So this is all little things that can help. What was a bit of a frustration to me, and I voiced this on the floor during our special session in December, I was a little frustrated that it took a little while to get this money out the door. And then the storm hit in September, and here we were in December. And my point was that had it hit the city, I think we would have been in there a little bit quicker. I think it took a little too long. That would be my one criticism, is that I believe, and many of the members believe, we should have gone into special session almost immediately, within a week or two after that storm, to try to get some money out the door, because we had people that were homeless, and the FEMA trailers weren't there yet. There was a lot of angst and real human hardship that
Right.
was going on, life-threatening type
well,
stuff.
the other thing to keep in mind is that in New York City, if this hit New York City, they have a lot of resources of their own.
Right.
I mean, they have a militia. They got a lot more armories. You know, you talk about having a delegation. You know, Brooklyn has a 27-member delegation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if it hit Brooklyn, you better believe you got 27 people in both houses just standing up and screaming.
Right.
Whereas, you know, one voice
Yeah,
for several counties.
Exactly,
You know, so it's a
exactly.
lot different.
Exactly, but that would have been my one point of
So,
criticism of
yeah.
that. And I said that. I said, you know, if this had hit Manhattan, we would have been here 3 or 4 days later getting some money out the door. I think it took a little bit too long, but now it is starting to flow. And,
Okay.
you know, and New Yorkers are resilient. We are going to recover. If you look at Wyndham, it's really bounced back pretty nicely. Prattsville still has quite a way to go.
Yeah.
But thank God my district was not nearly as impacted as Pete's. I mean, Pete Lopez really did a phenomenal job.
And he's got 7 counties.
7
and
counties.
He,
Yeah.
he may